The road ahead has never been more clear. Success belongs to those who take the lead. Welcome to Dealer Insights, the podcast that puts you in the driver's seat of growth. Hosted by Vin Machici, industry leader with over 30 years in automotive. This is where experience meets innovation. From cutting-edge technology to game-changing strategies, we go beyond the surface to bring you the insights that matter. Real conversations to help you navigate the ever-changing automotive landscape. Buckle up. Your next competitive advantage starts now. AI in the dealership. Everyone's talking about it. Every vendor's selling it. But the question that no one's really asking is what it's actually costing you. It isn't just about the line item on the invoice. It's time, it's trust, it's what your team has to change and what your customers might feel if it's not done right. The industry seems to be upside down, man, with AI and technology. In our recent conversations, I don't know if you would fully agree with that, but I'd love to hear your thoughts.
I wouldn't say upside down. I would say there's a lot of hype. There's a lot of unknown. There's a lot of anticipation, and but at the end of the day, car dealers are still just trying to sell cars. And I think that the external noise around AI is bigger than what's actually happening in car dealerships.
That's interesting.
Mm-hmm. From my experience and my talk, I mean, I talk to lots and lots of car guys, and they ask me the same questions around the same core principles and fundamentals that we've been talking about forever.
Right. How to sell more.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I think you're a pretty well-known guy in the business. You've done a great job with the brand, and you have integrity, a high level of integrity. But there are listeners and viewers that they might not know Vin. Like, what do you like to do outside of work or maybe in work? Like, did you just watch the Masters or?
Yeah.
Let's get to know Vin for a minute. We don't need to spend a lot of time on this, but
yeah. Yeah, I'm a humble person. I don't like to talk about myself much. I like golf, my family, my kids, my friends. I like to be with my friends because I'm not the head of a business when I'm around them, I'm just a guy they grew up with, so that's fun.
it's awesome.
Yeah. I enjoy building and growing the business in a smart way. I enjoy all the people that work for me and like to watch them succeed. I like to see my dealers succeed and do well. And when all that happens, I'm content and happy.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that. And I can appreciate all of those things. I've golfed some pretty nice golf courses, and I've golfed some pretty basic ones. What's like the golf course that you want to golf that you haven't golfed yet?
Yeah, that's a good question. St. Andrews.
Okay.
I got to play at Pebble Beach once. It was great.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh, that's huge.
Yeah. Yeah, that's on the book. That's for a little further down the road. I'm going to try and visit some places. Definitely.
All right. Well, maybe we'll play St. Andrews together one
Become
day.
maybe that would be great. Yeah, as you get older, I like competition. It's hard to find sports you can play at a high level anymore. Not that I play golf at a high level, because I don't, but I can play.
What's your handicap?
It's about a 15.
Okay. All right.
It fluctuates between 14 and 16.
Yeah, I can get up and down. I was never great at it. I think my best round of golf ever was like an 84.
Yeah.
And I was ecstatic over that.
Golf is hard.
It is, man. It is. But it's those couple of holes per round where everything comes together perfectly that keeps you chasing that and coming back.
For sure.
Well, thank God you're better at business than golf. And same with me, because
I don't know about that.
I think so, man.
I'm doing my best. It's not easy.
Well, I see consistency, right? And decision making. And I think that's like an underlying message that we may want to convey in this format to any of the listeners and dealers out there.
Sure.
Is, look, we're going to help you try and figure out AI and navigating how to make decisions, how to make determinations. But ultimately, make a decision and commit and continue to figure it out, because it is a new thing. What I've noticed is, to your point earlier, dealers want to know how to sell more.
Correct.
They're in business to make money, to sell
Just
units.
Like we want to sell more.
Yeah, to capture market share. Right. And there's a lot of solutions that now have AI that didn't before, and there's new solutions that are exclusively AI. So in a real simple way, you can ask yourself, how does this help me achieve whatever that ultimate goal is? It could be objective based on efficiency, and it could be objective based on sold units. I don't know of any silver bullets out there, but
no, it's the buzzword of the year. Or scratch that. It's going to be the buzzword of the decade for sure. It's a big thing. It's a big deal. Every vendor and pretty much every platform or every booth at NADA is trying to mention something about AI. They're selling you artificial intelligence, virtual assistants, predictive tools and chatbots and all that kind of stuff, and automated processes. But the reality of it is, it is game changing, but it hasn't changed the game yet. And so it's really, a lot of it's smoke and mirrors. And some of it's real, it's just a matter of how you define AI. I mean, I always say, like, I started in the car business out of college in '94, selling cars. The internet, when I was in college, I had a professor tell me about this new thing called Yahoo and AOL, and I remember being kind of blown away by it. But if I try to put myself back into those days, I'm thinking, I had no idea what this was going to unfold into. And that's where we're at with AI. So the idea around AI is, conceptually, I mean, it's a great sizzle for the steak, right? But what's the steak? The steak is what you said. We sell cars. How are we going to sell more cars? How are we going to be more efficient? How are we going to, run our business and keep our customers happy and keep our employees happy and move more metal and be more profitable? I see a lot of AI tools where they're just trying to replace people, which is fine. We're not anti-bot. We're not anti-AI at Strolid. We just have, and we're deep in it, as you know. We're just not seeing it work well enough to talk to a customer yet. In all situations. Some situations, that are specific for auto or very transactional, it can work. As a matter of fact, most BDCs tend to be very transactional. So there's aspects of that where AI can come in and help. But is it going to replace a conversation like you and I are having right now? No. Is it going to replace the customer that is upset or frustrated and needs someone with empathy on the other end of the line to listen and to try to help them solve their problem? No, not yet. Maybe in 5-10 years, who knows? But as of right now, no. So today we're, actually it's emerging, uh, specifically for auto because that's what I'm in. But we're now involved in a lot of the different verticals. And will AI save your dealership? I don't think so. I know it won't, actually.
It's an interesting topic for sure. It's a hot topic.
And I'm an optimistic guy, by the way. So like when I say I'm not trying to be negative on it. I'm just telling you it's not going to save. It's not going to make you sell twice as many cars and reduce your expense in half tomorrow. It's not going to do that.
I tend to be overly optimistic at times myself. I don't see AI as a silver bullet, and some of it's just ridiculous, but some of it is powerful, and it can. I think, like, what are the categories you're seeing? I don't want to lead in with an answer and back into a question. I mean,
well, there's a lot of AI, and then there's a lot of automations, and they're different. So OEMs, for example, have been using predictive maintenance for a long time. And they're working on autonomous vehicles, and they're researching in that, and they're connected car stuff, and then you see a lot of siloed widget companies that are coming out and saying, "Hey, we can cut your BDC costs by putting in a robot to talk to your customers." Well, we've had IVRs for 20 something years now, and most of these tools are just a pretty much an IVR on steroids, right?
That's right.
So I'm not putting them down. I mean, they do work for some situations. They just don't work for every customer, or most of your customers, or a percentage of your customers, for whatever that's worth. So you can't just alienate your customers because you want to save money. And so, like, can it respond to leads? Sure. Can it optimize like your pricing or help you create ads? Help you create content? Sure. Is it going to do more in the future? Sure. That's the fun part for me. Why I stayed in BDC, Michael, is I got to play with technology. And car sales was boring to me. And I understood the value of a customer because I grew up around dealers who cared about their employees and their customers, thank God. Because I just grew up in a really good environment that helped me, or gave me the opportunity to invest time and effort into learning a lot of this stuff, and how it all connects. So yes, there are lots of use cases, we'll call it, for AI that haven't completely been vetted out yet. So just be careful handing over your customers to AI right now, because I can tell you, I mentioned IVR. I tell dealers all around the country for years, when I was with the big group and now that I run Strolid, your most underpaid, underappreciated position in a car dealership is the receptionist. And we hear all the nightmares from customers and feel the frustrations from customers that get stuck in I call it the loop of terror. When they're actually trying to reach a person and the IVR keeps directing them into different places and they get put into voicemails, and then they call us and we actually have humans answer it, and they heat it because they can't get to who they want to get to. That's not a great customer experience.
No, and I think that is, there's a tip there, right? So if you make a decision and you're going to try this AI solution or an upgrade that a vendor's offering you, right? How is it going to help you? How's it going to help your people? How's it going to help your customer and their experience in interacting with your dealership?
Right.
Don't set it and forget it. It's not a Ronco rocker, okay? We're not making Cornish game hens. You're
Yeah,
you have to test it.
I often talk about my ADD, and I don't mean to. I don't have ADHD. It's just it's just focus, right? I have to keep my mind busy. That's why I love the car business, because does AI actually work in the messy world, chaotic world of car dealerships? Because it is messy and chaotic, and that's why I enjoy it, because I can help solve some of those problems. And I know there are a lot of great companies probably out there building AI tools, and that's their intention. All I'm telling you is that it's not let's not sugarcoat it, right? Every vendor now leads with AI in their pitch, and it's not mobile friendly or cloud based. Like, I mean, it's the new mobile friendly or cloud based. It's not like that. That's the buzzword, you know, social media. Then it was paid. Well, when I first became a general manager of a dealership, I started paying for search engine marketing. And I remember having general managers in the room going, "What are you wasting your money on that for?"
Didn't you cancel like a big traditional source too?
Yeah, yeah. And it was because I got it, right? Just like I get AI right now. I got it that there was something to paid search because I was on Google a lot. And I figured, hey, if I'm on Google a lot, I assume all my customers, or at the time, maybe half my customers were on it. Now everybody's on it, right? So like it evolves, it emerges. It's not going to happen overnight.
So we recently put a white paper together, and I think just mentioning that that's available,
Mm-hmm.
Strolid.com/white paper.
Yep.
Okay. That's where we'll have our most recent white paper. And the more of those types of assets that we have, we're going to build a resource center for you. And you can go download and help make sense. But it doesn't end there either, right?
Right.
Like we're here to help. As you can hear, I'm not speaking for you, but Vin has a lot of experience in this industry and a true passion for getting into those intricacies and problem solving at that low level. Like, what's the problem and how can we fix it?
Mm-hmm. I'm pretty deep in my business. My job as CEO or founder or president or whatever the heck you want to call me is to find the problems that my people or my dealers have that they're having a hard time solving for. That's what I spend my time on. And I'm deep in my business so I can know, at least have a good understanding of how to approach it to potentially come up with a solution. Not always come up with a solution, but look for ways. And I don't like shallow, I don't like quick fixes if it's a big problem, because it requires thought. Again, something AI can't do because AI needs my experience to do that. And I'm not trying to pat myself on the back. There's lots of car guys out there that know exactly what I'm talking about. Running a car dealership is a very complex thing. And it used to frustrate me and still frustrates me when people talk about it like, oh, I hate buying a car. It's like pulling teeth, and why can't they do it better? It's running four or five businesses under one roof if you're a
Yeah,
general manager. And you
exactly.
want all of them working seamlessly together. And together is the key word. And the communication has to be good, and the understanding of your inventory, and there's just so much. I could go on and on. I don't mean to blur, but some tools are real machine learning and some are just basic automated tasks with AI. And I think that's what we wanted to talk about today. So that's defining it. That's how I define it. Machine learning is generative AI. It's LLMs and all that, where it can actually absorb data and learn from it. A lot of automations exist today right within your own CRM, like setting up a workflow.
Yeah.
Setting up email templates. Now, could you improve on the email template? Sure. Yeah, and you can use AI to do that. It's great. But it's just not it's not going to fix all the problems all at once. It's not going to do that. It's not going to. It may fix a small problem or a part of a problem.
Right. So you also have to understand that any AI solution that's being presented to the dealer, to you, the listener, that was developed and trained. And I think asking those questions can help. Like, what data was it trained on?
Mm-hmm.
Who built the model?
That's a
What
great
type
point.
of experience do they have in our industry?
Yeah, I'm geeking out lately on AI,
Yeah.
and I go at it with a ChatGPT when it gives me answers that I don't agree with. The scary part for me is that people are going to start using AI and thinking that it's real, just like the media, just like social media is. Like, you got to be, you can't just believe everything that you read, because all ChatGPT and Claude and Genesis and all these other tools are doing is just scouring the internet. It's running out of data, believe it or not.
Right.
That's why I'm so excited about what we're doing here at Strolid, is because we're creating new data every day, conversations that customers are having. So with that said, AI, just the more content that gets put out on the internet and as much that it can read and ingest, once it's ingested, it's done. And whatever that information was is what it's going to regurgitate. So you're not going to get necessarily, the ability to, question it or argue with it or debate it, because that's all it knows.
That's
It
right.
doesn't reason. How about that? Well, and they're coming out with better ways where it's reasoning now, but it's just not. A human brain is so amazingly complex. It really is. That's why I believe in God. There's no way that there isn't a creator, in my opinion. Now, I'm sure there's a lot of people listening that don't agree with me, but
No,
that's why I wear my cross and I thank God every day for everything that I got. Because at the end of the day, I'm just blessed to be able to continue to learn and grow and all that. And, the idea that knowledge could potentially become worthless is scary. We talked about that before, you and I.
we have. And, so if we unpack that for a minute, in a recent conversation we had, we peeled a couple layers back. So knowledge is exactly what you just said. It's you can go learn in now a different format, and it's consolidating and scraping information from everywhere and bringing it back and giving you cliff notes at times on whatever topic. You want to know what it actually takes to go through open heart surgery. AI can tell you every step, how long it's going to take to heal, and it's based on the information that's out there. Doesn't mean that you're going to go perform open heart surgery. So don't get ahead of yourself with it. I think that's a dangerous thing.
I'll give you an example, Michael. Ask the United States of America, the population of the United States of America, who they voted for. Half said one, half said the other. So who's right? AI has to be right.
Has to be, because it's data driven.
I mean, again, I don't know where it's going. Maybe eventually it'll argue with you. I've heard some crazy stuff about AI, which scares me a little. That some of these bots are starting to have egos, and they're starting to get competitive, and they're starting to get upset. The founder or CEO of OpenAI supposedly walks around with a blue backpack with a computer that has a button that he can destroy it if it starts getting crazy.
That sounds good in theory.
Yeah, it's almost becoming like science fiction, like a science fiction movie. But at the end of the day, right? It's just like anything. I mean, if you go back to the 70s, they were telling you we were going to be underwater by now with climate change. And
Right.
so, like, if you listen to all the hysteria, you're going to turn yourself into you're going to have bouts of anxiety and worry and all that. Like,
Right.
that's not how I live my life.
So think about that though. You went back to the 70s, but go back to the very first dealership and uh, Henry Ford optimizing the production line. And right, imagine if you could go back and try to and your mission was to try and convince people that like this would be a thing. They would think you'd have a tough time doing it. So to your
I
point
use that as an
earlier,
example all the time. Is like, imagine if you told somebody in the early 1900s that they'd be walking around with a phone that could take pictures and answer questions. They'd be like, well, what are you from another world planet? Like,
right.
They put this person in a crazy house, right? Because there's something wrong with this person.
Right.
Yeah, that's what makes it exciting, though. That I know not everybody thinks like I do, but I'm excited to see what's next. Not worried about it, because I think we're, as human beings, we'll handle it. If it goes the wrong way, we'll adapt.
Ultimately, it's here to help us, right? And if it starts to go in a different direction, then yeah, I think we'll collectively as a race will do everything and anything. We are very resilient beings. And
so I have three areas that I'd like to touch on this, right? Because I know a lot of dealers are confused about AI or wondering about it, or maybe haven't spent any time on it, or maybe have spent a lot of time on it. So it's like all over the place. But you really got to ask yourself the right questions, right? That's number one. And don't buy into the hype. And then just watch for hidden costs. Those are the three things. So ask the right questions. Don't buy into the hype. Make sure it can solve a problem for you. And then what are the hidden costs? So asking the right questions is it real AI, or is it just a rule-based system that, like an automation? So as we define that, was AI actually is machine learning. It actually learns from data. It's not just a rule-based kind of ask a question, answer a question, ask a question, answer a question. That stuff's been around forever. And people are packaging that with they're putting a label on it that it's AI, and it's not real AI.
So can dealers identify that by like looking at it and saying,
yeah,
if it does this, then this happens. So watch out for those if-then
no,
arguments.
well, that was where I was going to go next. So
okay.
Does it actually learn over time, right? Can it
Okay.
integrate into your current, tech stack and work within your processes? But don't, buy into the hype. Buy into the outcomes. Like, what business problem is it solving, and how we're going to measure that? Is it saving time? Is it improving the customer experience? Is it driving gross profit? Can your vendor show real results, or are they just giving you a bunch of BS because they are salespeople trying to sell it? I have a really good BS detector, and I give all the credit in the world for that, for being in the car business and being around some really slick salespeople. I mean, like really, really good people, and they know how to read people. They know how to negotiate, and vendors hated dealing with me when I was at that big group, because I handled all the digital marketing for the whole East Coast, because I questioned everything. And if they couldn't give me a good answer, I knew they were full of shit. And I knew what kind of questions to ask them. So, like, anyway, you need to make sure it's solving a problem, and then is it just a surface problem, or does it have substance? So what do I mean by that? Well, having a bot answer calls and schedule an appointment solves a problem. But what you're forgetting about is the hidden costs, that it might reduce labor, but is it creating more opportunities? Number one. Number two, you know, do they create new complexities that you didn't think about? Like who trains it? Who watches it? What happens when it makes a mistake? What happens when your customers are frustrated with it? So yeah, you just saved a small surface problem, but you're not getting to the root problem, which is your customer experience. Maybe. And again, I'm sure there's vendors out there, if they're listening to this, that sell those tools, are going to be like, "Oh, he's wrong." But I'm not wrong. We have customers coming at us saying our customers are complaining because they can't talk to a human, and that's the way it is today. In some cases, will it be different in 20 years when this new Z generation emerges and doesn't want to talk to people and just wants to talk to robots? Maybe. Who the heck knows? Like, that's what I mean. You can't say that it's not going to evolve or emerge into something bigger. You can't. It may very well do that. It's just not doing that right now.
Look at, we've all had the situation where we've called to make a reservation, make an appointment, try and get in touch with some type of support or concierge or whatever. And to have to wrestle in IVR, or I can understand full sentences, great, but I really just want to talk to a person and someone who has empathy.
Some of these tools work great though, Michael, too. It's just, again, do you have the right data, and have you trained it properly? And think of it this way. This is what's going to be very, very difficult for these new emerging AI tools. Just like digital retailing had a problem. The data is there to build a digital retailing tool before COVID. We were actually talking about building one. And I'm so happy we didn't, because within 3 months of COVID, there were about 45 digital retailing tools. And guess what we knew at Strolid? Just like I'm saying with the bots answering calls. I mean, they're nice, they're helpful to the customer, but they weren't selling more cars.
Right.
They were creating some more leads. Some of them were forcing customers to create leads, or some of them creating multiple leads and duplicate leads and all this other stuff because the customer's just playing with your tool on your website.
Right.
It's no different with these bots. There's going to be a shit ton of them enter into the market. Some of them will make it. Some of them will fade out. How many digital retailing tools are there now? I would probably, and I said this 5 years ago when I knew there was 45 of them.
Yeah.
In 5 years, there'll be 10. And I'll bet you I'm right.
It's probably around that. Yeah.
But it's the same. Don't rush into this. Everybody's trying to figure it out. Everyone's trying to learn. I'm learning. I've looked at lots of AI agentic agents, and I've found a couple really good ones, but they weren't really good a year ago because the technology's changed so fast in a year that now they're getting better.
That's right. I mean, you have some first.
I'm glad I didn't build a bot, because frankly, a bot 2 years from now might be, I'm going to wasted all my money on software development, building something that becomes, obsolete in a year or two.
I think that's super interesting because with these LLMs, right? So the way that you interact with generative AI is with natural language, and that's what makes it more accessible to people like us and dealers like you. Compared to 2017, IBM Watson, reading call transcriptions, you needed to have like a full dev team to leverage that.
Right.
So this natural language, generative AI, and these LLMs, none of us have insight into the roadmap of what ChatGPT is working on. And I watch their updates. They usually live stream their updates. And I can't tell you that I've been disappointed in not a single one that I've watched, and been very impressed. Like, that all makes sense. So you can kind of tell the trajectory and the direction. to a degree, but I
Sure.
mean, we could be a week away or a day away from a major disruption in the ability of those tools. And to tie it back to automotive, it's
You know,
people.
can I just stop you real quick there
You
because
can.
you just said something really, and I don't want to forget what I was going to say, but um, if you want to be an entrepreneur or run a car dealership, which is very entrepreneurial, you can't think like you're thinking. You got to think about how do I solve today's problems, this week's problems, this month's problems, and like what happens happens. Like that, you should prepare yourself, no question, but you can't just get yourself all worked up about what might happen because it might not happen. As a matter of fact, there's a guy I went to a convention, not a convention, a show, Autovate, a bunch of dealer investors and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
this guy gets up every year and does his talk about predictions. You know what's very interesting? Like 10% of everything that's predicted comes true. And you know
Okay.
what stays the same? He goes through that too. Did you know that the average car salesperson averages 9 car sales per year? And that's been that way for 35, 40 years, maybe even longer. It's never changed. So all this technology, all these CRMs, all this disruption that you're talking about, it hasn't had a major impact in car sales from a car salesperson per car sale. And that's a good KPI to pay attention to, right? Because if you can drive that from 9 to 15, you just saved yourself a whole bunch of money, training, all that kind of stuff. Like
Yeah.
employees are going to be happier. I have a theory on why it's 9 because of the turnover in a car dealership. So you're averaging in the people that don't make it past 60 days and never sell a car. So there are obviously salespeople there that sell 15, 20 cars per month and stuff like that. But how do you drive more sales? That's what we're talking about, right? Like, and
Yeah.
so I wanted to just point what you just said and just focus on that for a second because I don't worry. I worry about the problems I can solve today
Right.
that can make an impact on my business. That's why I said, like, when you ask them a question, one of them, when you ask questions, the answer should be, what problem is it solving for me?
Right.
And how do I measure that problem? Because if you're not measuring it, you're in trouble trying to run a business. I can tell you that.
So how I was going to tie that back is actually to your point. Don't worry about that. Just know that there's an evolution and the high likelihood of a revolution in our industry. So when you're buying, what problem does it solve? And by experience,
Mm-hmm.
the vendor, the agency, the
You said some
whomever.
nice thing. You said some nice things about me to start off this podcast, and I appreciate it. But I'm not here to toot my own horn, but I can tell you this, Michael. Um, I never. It's called imposter syndrome. I never feel like I know enough, and I'm always thinking about getting a competitive edge and trying to figure out problems before they become problems and all that. So like, I live that world, but it's not worrying about disruption. It's worrying about my business today, and I pay attention to my competition, and I pay attention to trends in the markets, and I try to prepare myself best I can for what's coming in the near term. And over time, you build a successful business when you do that. You can't just come out of the gate and build a successful business. It takes time. And if you take your eye off the ball, you have an opportunity to go out of business or lose customers and so forth. So, and it's not easy, believe me. I mean, paying attention to all this stuff can be. Remember, I told you this the other day. Actually, I focus on what's critical,
Yes.
and then I try to put myself in quadrant 3 every once in a while and spend time thinking and researching and looking at data and trying to plan. But most of the time, it's like, what can I work on today that's most important to the company?
The quadrants, that was, it's not that I didn't have the ability to prioritize, but that was really enlightening to me.
Me too.
So I appreciate you turning me on to that. And uh, I mean, it's fully integrated in marketing, right?
What is
So
that, Michael? It's a basic fundamental. It's
it
just
really is.
organizing it. It's not disruptive. It's not some disruptive technology. It's something that we just as humans need to understand how to prioritize.
Yeah, you can,
If a
if
dealer
you
calls me, I answer the phone. If an employee needs me, I talk to them. I don't put them off. I do my best to communicate to the whole company, and I do my best to communicate to anyone who reaches out to me at any time, anywhere, any place. It upsets my family sometimes when I pick up the phone on a weekend, but whatever. Like that's who I am. And all the most successful people I've ever been around, the one thing they all have in common is if I'm important to them, they take my call. It's a
well,
simple fundamental, right? But we
it,
overlook those things because we want these shiny, tools. What is Strolid? We take your call for your customer so they know that they're important to us as a team. That's what we do. It's a core fundamental. Quickly responding to an email, quickly responding to a text, quickly answering a phone call. It's a core that tells your customer that you care about them. That's why IVRs drive them crazy because it's like, you're putting me in this loop. You don't really care about me.
right.
That's the message you're sending, it's indirect, but it's still the message.
It's very true, man. And when you were mentioned or talking about that, it made me think about a call that I made back in October,
Mm-hmm.
um, to somebody that I had known for quite some time, but hadn't talked to in a while, and it couldn't have been more than just a couple of rings, and they answered the call, and that was you, and here we are.
Yep, that's pretty funny you bring that up. I forgot about that.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, I have a guy who's very, very successful and mentor to me. And if I call him, if he doesn't pick up, he texts me, says, "I'll call you later."
right.
And he's running a Fortune 500 company right now as a CEO. So, like, I wonder how he got to that position.
Hmm.
Wonder. It's not, again, it's not, anyone who tells me people make it because they're lucky, it goes through me like a warm knife through butter. It's like, you got to be kidding me. You have no freaking idea what you're talking about. None. And I just can't surround myself with negative people. Those are the two things I try to do. Be positive around everybody around you, especially in a leadership role. And do me a favor and don't complain about everything.
Yeah,
Please don't.
nobody wants to hear that.
No. I complain to
Well,
my leadership team. That's it.
hey, we all have to we all have to vent from time to time,
Yeah.
and as a leadership team is like, we're in the front lines of our specific areas of responsibility,
Hmm.
and sometimes the things, I'm guilty of it.
Everybody is.
Everything's important to me in my world, and
I believe me, buddy. I'm far from a perfect human being.
you have every area to pay attention to, and it's interesting,
So it's
but
interesting. So think about that. We talked about prioritization.
yeah.
You prioritize what's important to you. So the three things that are important to me at Strolid are my employees are happy, my dealers are happy, and we're making money. And if I spend any time outside of any of those three things, I'm not doing what I should be doing as the, leader of the company.
So
And so those are priorities. So when a customer has a problem or employee has a problem or we're, having problems making money, I'm in. You can
okay,
count on
so
me. The
so to
technology, like I have Thomas, we have a CTO, we have a whole dev team. Like I love them. And I love Thomas. He's one of the smartest people I've ever met in my life.
yeah.
Like he's already talking about quantum stuff that's going to wipe out AI in the future. And I'm like, oh my God, we haven't even started on AI and you're talking about quantum. But with that said, I just told you, CRMs were invented probably 40 years ago. Have they helped us sell more cars per salesperson?
No.
So it's not the technology necessarily.
Right. So how all of this relates to AI is the number one, ask the questions
Right.
and how's it going to help you?
That's it.
And if you can't figure that out, you can go to the white paper. And if that doesn't help you and you have even more questions, then
I had a dealer try to cancel us about 6 months ago, and I'm like, why? And he said, I just feel like we need more AI. Like, but what exactly do you think you need with AI? What's it going to do? What are
right.
the outcomes you're looking for? That's how I would handle that. He didn't end up leaving us because I can't even remember why, but it was like, I'm not trying to talk you out of it. If you really think it's gonna improve your business exponentially, we have dealers who will call us. They got a ton of crappy leads, and they
Yeah.
want us to take them from a 10% appointment set rate to 30. It's like, I just tell them straight up, we don't turn chicken shit into chicken salad. Like, you got to work on the marketing and the efforts to drive more traffic. We're here to make sure we take care of your customer and we respond to them quickly so they know you're important. They're important to you.
Right.
That's our job. And our job is to schedule appointments with people we can talk to. The problem with most of those crappy leads is we can't talk to them. We can call them and call them and call them and call them. We can email them and text them. If they don't reply, nobody. Tony Robbins couldn't get them to 30%.
Grant Cardone couldn't get them to 30%.
Correct.
It's not happening.
Not on shitty traffic. Now, if it's good traffic, we can talk about that. We can help them. So that's part of the HI, which is human intelligence.
There we go.
Yeah. And understanding the car business and inventory, pricing, lead volumes. That's what we do really well here at Strolid. So, like, God bless an AI agent that wants to try and understand all that and be able to converse to a general manager or dealer principal about how they can help them with their business.
So I'd like to switch gears, Vin, and talk about just some generalizations in AI that dealers might be seeing, and it could be having an impact on their results. So Google started doing the AI preview.
The what?
AI preview in the search results.
Yeah.
So they're kind of given a summary, and then any references where that information came from, they'll park that off to the side so you could go to the original source easily.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we've experienced a significant increase in our impressions overall. And I'm not going to put our specific stats out there, but from an SEO perspective, we've actually had growth on impressions.
Mm-hmm.
But though that doesn't, with that AI preview, the result is they don't have to click through to the site to read it.
Ooh.
So as we're evolving and the AI is evolving and it's being introduced.
That's a great point. I never thought of that.
So we have to have the
but
ability.
Google's going to figure out how to get you to pay for something there. Otherwise, they're going to hurt their business.
Well, so that's a really good point. And I don't know what they're working on in that regard, but I can tell you that dealers are probably feeling that to a degree as well, where they were expanding their search terms and reaching into peripheral markets, broadening the spectrum of their search terms around popular models or all of the models.
Do you know how I looked at Google back in 2006 when I was the GM and I canceled the Boston Globe and saved myself $15,000, started paying for search? That story.
Yeah.
I looked at it. I used to tell people this a long time ago. It just dawned on me. Google is the new Yellow Pages, is what I told them.
Yeah, and
because at the time the Yellow Pages was still a thing.
Yeah. Remember?
Yeah. No, but I'm just saying that's how I kind of. So what you're saying is, is Google transforming into an AI? I use ChatGPT way more than I use Google now. For those of you who are listening, get into ChatGPT. It'll blow your mind. I know I'm better at prompting now than I was a year and a half ago or 2 years ago when it first came out. I know how to drill down, continue to push it back, push back until I get it to do what I want it to do. There's a lot of work that goes into how AI gives you some kind of, information if you want to put your own thoughts into it. But Google has to compete with that because I can ask it, show who are the local dealers to zip code 03079 and who's got the best ratings and which dealer should I go visit? Who has this in stock? Maybe even I haven't tried that one, but so why do I need Google?
So I can relate to all of that. And my prompting has expanded, and very similar to what you've shared on your methods on how you engage with ChatGPT is not taking that initial response and it's not to be combative with it. It's
No,
to challenge and really get down to the core absolute best output and result.
correct.
So what the point I was going to make, Vin, is as these tools are evolving, as these platforms are introducing their versions and iterations of AI, that we have to pay attention and we may have to also adjust. Okay. Don't be set in your ways, be open to the innovation and think about,
People don't like
well,
change.
so if we're up, I know, but that's kind of my
I love it.
micro message here is if I
That could be a
could,
whole nother topic for a whole nother day, but I learned from a guy called Lou Tice back in 2001 on how to set goals. And the only
yeah,
way you're going to achieve goals is by changing your ways. Um, or changing your thoughts on how you look at things. And so that's a great point, in my opinion. What you just said is like, it's, look, we build a portal, we can't get our dealers to log into it. That's a fact. We're trying.
yeah,
They already have a process. They come in, they do a job every day. We're basically saying, here's more work.
and another login.
Yeah. So we're trying to work. We have a solution to that. It's coming very quickly. But
Yes,
we're listening to our dealers and we're not just going, no, you have to use it. Or, oh my God, this is the greatest thing. Make sure you use it. Use it every day. Use it, use it, use it. Like
right.
then I know. I can't, you know what? Frankly, our management team here at Strolid is the same way. They have a job to do, get appointments and do their job. When you start throwing curveballs at them, that's when they go off track, you know?
Right. So process, right?
Exactly.
If you're bringing that AI product in and you're sold on it and you bought the experience and you can see there's transparency and the
Mm-hmm.
data is flowing from a reliable, viable source
Build
and
a
you're
process
in,
around it.
make sure. Yes, thank you, Vin. I mean, I I know you mentioned imposter syndrome
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not trying to, boast your abilities and ride off your coattails. However, anyone that can do what you've done understands the critical importance of process in business.
Sure.
That's a
Yep.
fact.
Process makes average performers above average, makes above average great if you follow a process. And there are two types of people in the world, Michael. People who can build engines, which is process, and people who can run engines. Actually, it's three people. And then the other people that don't really know what's going on. They just kind of float around. But like running an engine is like a manager, building an engine is a leader. And having a leader build the engine, it makes sure it affects their people and their customers in a positive way. And then make sure you hold them accountable to that process. It's all you really need to do to be successful.
That's it.
And you need people you trust, obviously. You need good customers because not every customer is a good customer, you know. Jason Branham, our new CRO, and I have had a conversation. He said that Audi used to say they don't want an Audi in every driveway. And I
Right.
told him, we don't want to put Strolid in every dealer
No.
because we know that waters down what we do, and it actually makes my people upset when they're dealing with a poorly run dealer that doesn't have very good process and doesn't appreciate what we do. So
Yeah,
That's a fact. There's plenty of dealers to go around. So like if my competition's hearing that, they're like, great, Vin's turning away business. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying like we go into a sale and we tell them, listen, if you want to work with us, this is how it will work. And this is how it won't work.
right.
And if they push back and say, well, I don't want to do it your way, great. We'll just gladly, agree to disagree and move on.
Yeah. It's not about
Still
being
personal.
for everybody. It's not a one size fits all. No,
As a matter of fact, there's some great dealers out there with great BDCs that do a great job running it internally. I did it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd be a fool if I said you can't. Strolid is better than running it internally. Like, if you tried to argue with me when I was running this at the group I was running, I'd be like, yeah, bullshit. There's no way.
It's not a silver bullet, ladies and gentlemen. It's hard work.
Yep.
It's process. It's leadership.
Mm-hmm.
And ultimately, when all of the dust settles, it's none of these vanity metrics on the activities. It boils down to one thing: the result. That's what you get from Strolid.
Strong process, solid results. That's what Strolid stands for. So you
Never
just
miss.
summed it up.
Ever.
Yeah, hopefully. I don't know. Sometimes when I do these podcasts, I don't know if we're exciting enough. Maybe this is, sometimes the most important things aren't very exciting to do and to pay attention to.
Well, I could give you a little intermission here. Let's see. It's the Super Summer Sizzler Savings Sale. Christmas in July. The lowest prices ever. Come on down and spin the wheel. Take a left at the 80-foot gorilla.
Right. Free hot dogs.
Free hot dogs. Bring the kids. Family fun day.
Yeah.
This weekend.
Yep.
There we go. We got our excitement in. Let's get back to the good stuff. The meat and potatoes is what Dealer Insights is all about.
There you go.
I really enjoy doing this.
I do too.
I wanna switch gears one more time. We've had extensive conversations. I have learned more than I ever thought I would have about conversational data.
Mm-hmm.
And what's interesting, I think I've shared this with you, but back in 2017, I went home one weekend, and we had a pretty big group, and they had given us kind of a major task. They were trying to get all of their information in one place, right? And we had a reporting mechanism and a very basic dashboard. And I sat I had my basement set up as like a man cave, hanging out with my dogs. I was in the basement all weekend with my computer, and I outlined a UI, sketched it out, and I brought it in on Monday. And it had everything. It had reporting, it had specials, it had trend analysis, and we had Twilio. That's how we would do our attribution with call tracking.
Mm-hmm.
And Twilio was baked in, so dealers could provision a number. We had our numbers provisioned. If they wanted us for full call tracking, we'd do it. And I was keeping an eye. As an admin of the Twilio account, I would get their notifications, and this thing popped up, IBM Watson, and we could integrate it, but it was an arm and a leg.
Yeah, right.
But what was powerful is the dual line transcription. So we would be able to know what the dealer was saying and what the customer was saying, and then we could measure tonality, sentiment, and have so and that goes back to that like machine learning, right? Mm-hmm. But that was the beginning of my interest, and I never got to act on it. And fast forward 8 years later, we reconnect at a perfect time. I join an awesome team to find out that, that you have this badass conversational data machine built. Like, I don't mean to get super animated and excited about it, but like, I have been thinking about something like what you've done for such a long time that I'm just blown away every day.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about it?
Yeah. So what are you trying to do when you were looking at all those conversations? You were trying to understand your customer. So again, go down to the core of what it is, the problem you're trying to solve, right? And what are your motivations to solve it? Like, and so mine was that I have my dad who's semi-retired, but had been in the car business forever. By the way, when I got in the car business, he tried talking me out of it, but I saw that he was making a lot of money in it, so I decided to try it. I hated it, tried to get out of it, but I ended up with the BDC stuff and the data and the marketing, so that's what kind of kept me in it. And I turned into a pretty good salesperson. But yeah, so I would ask my dad, like, how are we doing? He listens to phone calls all day. That's all he does. He's retired pretty much, but he works full time because I probably get that from him. He just he keeps my mother sane by working still.
He can't sit still.
No. And he's in great shape and mind sharp and all that. And he gives me the best information of anybody in the company on which agents are doing well, which dealerships are doing well, which dealerships have problems, which agents have problems.
Yeah.
And he feeds that information back to us. So I said to Thomas 4 years ago, and Thomas almost 5 years ago now, he said, what do we work on first? And I said, how do we scale him? That's a true story. Like, we can potentially talk about all this great tech and generative AI and all that, but that's how it happened here. And so Thomas went on a quest. We have a patent now approved on a product called Etherphone. And when he was building out the patent and the idea around the Etherphone, he found out and realized there was no structured data format for conversational data. So he came to me and said, I want to go to this IETF meeting, which is the people who approve actual standards for the internet. Yeah. And got up on stage and presented it. And he got selected because, as one of the CEOs of that company said to him, it's one of the most obvious things that no one's ever thought of, is actually having a structured data format for conversational data. So that's what a VCon is. There's security and compliance around it. It's immutable. There's all kinds of safety reasons because AI is in a safe place. So another reason why the IETF is behind VCon is we're able to not only capture conversational data, but feed it to anywhere in a safe way where we can delete it, we can redact customer information and keep it private and keep it really secure. So that's what we have. We have a conserver now that we plug in communication channels into, and it spits out VCons and can be fed to generative AI in a safe way or anywhere. And now we have a lot of interest throughout the telecom and enterprises and all this other stuff. But we're still early, but we invented it. Well, Thomas, is the author of it, one of them. So we're in a good situation in that regard. I'm trying to figure out how do I use it for car dealers right now.
So Strolid is a captive office. And if you don't know what that is, basically, we're building technology to solve everyday real problems for us, which is ultimately solving those problems for automotive. As Vin just mentioned, we have the horizontal play in other verticals, which is great in other industries.
Well, it's a communication layer it's a deep layer of AI technology is what we have. It's like an operating system in a way. And so that's what's exciting about our future here. Now, with that said, We're taking that data, we're feeding it to our own, and it took us a year. I thought maybe we just feed data into ChatGPT and it would tell us anything we wanted. It doesn't work that way.
No.
So we've been working on it, training it, working on it. Now we finally just released our GPT, which now a dealer can say, show me customers that said that your price was too high, or show me customers that wanted to trade a car, or were shopping other dealers, or out of market. This is all information my dad used to feed me. Like, they're getting killed on pricing. Every time he listened to a call in this dealership, they say that the price is too high. So we would feed that back to the dealer. Now we have a system where the dealer can see that right at their finger, see the whole conversation, see all the transcripts. Captive, meaning you can only get that if you're a Strolid customer. So we're working on a hosted version where we can sell it, but we're not there yet. And that's where we're at.
It's super impressive. It's also a level of insight. There's no question what your customers are saying. And, if we go up a level and we want to identify trends, for example, we're able to do that. And a recent example that I can give on that is the first 3 weeks in March. Very, very small percentage of the total sum, but it was our baseline on customers that were mentioning the word tariffs in conversations. The first 4 days in April, that number had increased 800%. The 800%, again, a small percentage of the total sum, but relative to the frequency, pretty significant increase. There's no way we could have known that had we not had the
challenge is what I said, right? This is this conversation is for the dealer principal and general manager.
Right.
Because the sales managers, for the most part, and the salespeople, they're just doing a job.
Yeah.
There's more work for me if you just keep giving me more things to log into and all that. But if you truly want to be better, then you want to listen to your customers.
Right.
And you want to try and solve problems for your customers. The days of, selling a car to a customer and hammering them over the head and trying to gross and all that. Don't get me wrong, there's still opportunities to gross, but like the old days were bad, frankly, in the 90s for customers. They're not bad anymore for customers. It's very transparent, and it's been that way for a while. I mean, there are some dealers that push against it, and then we had COVID. COVID was just a giant roller coaster ride where prices were up and down and sideways, and then there was tons of inventory. There was no inventory. Now there's tons of inventory again. So the pricing has been very erratic. But for a long time, it was very competitive, and you needed to listen to your customer, and you can't get upset that you had to take shorter deals if you wanted to move more cars and things like that.
Right.
But it's all perspective. It's all about the dealer's philosophy. We don't tell a dealer that you should price your cars lower, but we tell them, here's what we're hearing.
It's ultimately...
now we don't even have to tell them that because they have GPT to tell them that.
Yeah, and it's
called GPT.
It's the insight, right? Think of it as business intelligence or advanced analytics. It's opening up.
Yeah, we're going to get better at it too, and it will evolve with us, and it will emerge with different things that we already have in the pipeline and we've been talking about. And so that's why I don't worry about sharing all this. Like, people say, "Oh, don't share all your secrets. Don't tell everybody." Good luck. I got to hire all these people and make sure I have the right people and make sure that they work hard and make sure that they can develop. We had a dealer that was on Microsoft Teams, and we were on Slack. And so I thought there was a simple integration, and there wasn't. So I went on ChatGPT and said, how do I integrate these two? It freaking wrote the code for me to do the integration.
I mean, we use that all the time. I want to say, it's the It's the 3.0 ChatGPT 3.0
But how
mini.
do we know that code's right? Remember I said
Well,
who trains it, who manages it, what happens to it? That's where the jobs are going to be in the future around stuff like this is. And what worries me is that if the younger generation doesn't get the experience to be able to review that code, we're in trouble in 20, 30, 40 years. That's where I see the problem. When knowledge becomes worthless because the computer can do everything. But who's checking on the work?
with a lower or no value on
Or
knowledge.
who's I don't know if a computer's going to go, okay, here's the code, but I think there's 2 or 3 other ways I might want to look at this. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's where it's going to get interesting.
So in like a subjective way, where
Uh-huh.
is it giving you the best or is it giving you the easiest? Or do they happen to be the same? I don't know.
Over a year ago,
Depends.
I took a course at MIT for artificial intelligence because Thomas was calling what we have robot food before ChatGPT came out. And I'm like, I don't understand what you mean by robot food. And he's like, well, we're turning conversations into data, then we're feeding it to the robots. And I'm like, I still don't get it. Then ChatGPT came out, and I'm like, oh, now I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's actually kind of scary the amount of information we can give a robot with conversations because it's going to get much better if you use our data than if you use a siloed company that just does appointment scheduling with a robot. Because we're hearing what the customers actually say, and the compute and the AI can learn from those conversations and handle things differently, maybe instead of just one singular way, one fixated way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and our processing power, right? So the conversations go into a conserver and what comes out of the conserver is the VCon. And
It's real.
and
That's real. That's helpful, but none of it is magic.
no. No, it's useful, it's powerful. It's
It's
not
not magic yet.
magic.
No,
No, it's not magic.
no,
But
it's not hocus pocus. If I was a dealer right now, one bit of advice I would say to them: take a deep breath and relax. You're not missing out on anything. Just take care of your customers and take care of your employees, and look for problems that you can solve for. And if AI can solve that, then try it out. That's it. It's not. Don't freak out about it. I
and
have too
back
many dealer. I have too many friends and dealers in the industry that are freaking out about AI. It's nothing to freak out about.
and if you try it out, back it with a process and inspect what you expect,
Correct.
put a process in place.
I've been very reluctant to call Strolid an AI company. And you just heard what we're doing in the world of AI. If anyone should be saying they're an AI company, it should be us. But the problem is the stereotype AI term is that it's a robot that answers phone calls for you. That's not AI. It's learning from data is what AI is.
Right. Not
It's extracting, it's
automating.
going through mountains of data that a human can't go through in milliseconds to produce results that would take a human hours and hours and hours. That's what it's doing.
And just to give a point of reference, I got some numbers from Thomas when we put Strolid.ai site
Yep.
together. We can process 15 million VCons every 90 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Think about that. Now,
Yeah.
that doesn't mean we get like every cliff note back on the conversation, but if we can process at that volume and speed and in a secure environment, if there's anything
I'm
we
not
want to
worried.
know,
If there's anything I'm not worried about, Michael, is Thomas's ability to figure out how we scale this thing. Like, again, that's a detail that I can't be spending my time thinking about. And I just hope Thomas is the right person, and he is, to handle that when it expands, right? And
sure.
knows what to do. And he's got that experience. I don't. I know what I would want from it as a dealer and as a business owner. And that's why we have a team like Thomas and Gordon and Pavan and Sergey and Matt and Holly and her team. Like they all know, the limitations of it and all that kind of stuff. it's just like with the marketing. Like, I think now that you and I have been together a while, you realize that there's my imposter syndrome. I keep thinking I need a marketing guy, but I know a lot about marketing,
Right. Yeah,
but
you
I don't know
do.
as much as you. And I
Oh,
don't want to know what the Adobe certifications are and all this other stuff that you've been through. Like, you know, that's why you're here.
that's right.
And, I got Jason now doing a great job of client success and sales. And like, he knows I'll jump on a demo and talk to a dealer anytime or help out a dealer if they have a problem, but I don't have to do all of it and know every little detail about everything that's going on. And operationally, Shauna doesn't let me in the operational side of things anymore. She tells me to beat it. So, and I mean, I built a BDC from without technology 25 years ago.
Right.
So I know how to do her job, but I don't get in her way. So that's the good part about our company. We have trainers and we have, we that have been with us a long time. And we have really good people. So that again, think of the three things I focus on: making sure we have really good people,
Yeah.
that I'm taking care of my dealers, and that we're making money. That's it.
Absolutely. And it is a great culture. Uh, David, Joe, Jason. I
Yeah,
mean,
didn't even mention David.
David's he's on a tear. He's, seems to be gaining his bearings,
Yeah,
and uh,
and Joe
he
too.
had
Yeah, Joe's
yeah.
been a good addition to us. Everybody.
Oh
The
yeah.
reality of it is, when you're a small company, you can't afford to add all these people,
Right.
so you wear a lot of hats.
That's right.
And luckily, I have always worked hard and didn't mind jumping in wherever I was needed. It's actually great that I don't get asked to jump in all the time, but we are getting, we have grown, so it would have been impossible for me to do anyway.
So I just want to circle back on kind of wrapping I don't know, a conclusion, I guess you would say, on conversational data. So historically, uh, your dad
You know,
would listen to calls, identify trends,
not just my
opportunities.
dad. I mean, my managers, my trainers, they do too. It's just that he not only listens to calls, but he shops dealers for us too. He uses his
Right.
fake Italian accent and calls dealers and tries to get their best price. It's pretty
Yes.
funny. He loves doing it. He's really good at it. Like, but the point is, everybody listens to calls. He just happened to be somebody. Obviously, he's my father, so I trust him,
Yeah.
and he doesn't bullshit me. But when he talks about how good certain people are, he does it with genuine excitement about how good they are. Like, he's happy they're good. Do you know what I mean by that?
I do.
And he's happy when we're kicking ass in the dealership. And he gets frustrated when an agent isn't doing so well or a dealer is causing us problems. So, like, that kind of loyalty and trust, obviously it's my father, so it goes without saying, but is impossible for me to replicate that a lot, right? But the AI can replicate that in a way. It can
And
identify heat cases. It can identify customers that are upset. It can identify customers that were, uh, you know, shopping from out of state. We have a lot of dealers that don't realize how many customers they have that shop out of state. And I have dealers that tell me we won't sell out of state. It's like, okay, but you're turning business away. Is there a way we can put a process in place? See, problem solving, right? To maybe try and transact more out of state, but they won't know the magnitude of that if you just tell them once in a while that it happened. It could be happening 3 times a day. They don't know that.
right. And now we can present that. And so that was kind of my point is historically, if your dad was able to listen to calls for 24 hours, he would only be able to listen to 24 hours of calls. And he has extensive automotive experience, was
Yeah,
a
great,
retail
great
legend.
salesperson. Like, he's always
Yeah.
been a people person.
Right.
You would never know if he liked you or didn't like you. He's always smiling.
So just breaking down like our
Like a
recommendations.
natural. I'm not a natural salesperson. He's a natural salesperson. He gets the tonality, the questioning. He knows rapport. Like he'll tell me, "Hey, this person we have, she doesn't follow script at all, but man, the customers love her." I'm like, "Great, leave her alone."
Right.
Like that's half the battle. Like as long as she's getting appointments and customers love her, I don't care if she's following script. Like scripting is another like topic we could talk about.
Yeah.
Because I've never been a script guy, and most of these robots are scripted. I would much rather have a person that understands naturally how to build rapport with a customer, how to listen, how to active listen, how to ask for a sale or ask for the appointment. And it doesn't have to, I just explained what selling is, right?
Yeah.
It's a structure. You got to build rapport. And how do you
The
build
road
rapport?
to the sale.
Yeah, like we could do a whole topic on that, which is fine if you want to, because the fact is that that's my core is like how human interaction is really, really important. We have a saying at Strolid, Michael, we don't hire people and train them to be nice. We hire nice people.
That's right.
If we get the slightest indication that you're an asshole, you aren't going to get a job with us. I don't care what your resume looks like.
Because you can't
We want to see people smiling. We want to see people happy. We want to see people excited about wanting to come work here. Those are the people we're trying to hire.
Yeah. And when you have that core team of high quality, good people, then that bleeds into the culture and the fabric of the company, and ultimately is a building block in driving the results, right? It's always about the results.
It's not magic.
It's not magic. It's Strolid.
Yeah.
This has been
constantly
great.
Working on it.
Constantly. Mm-hmm. Vin, what a great conversation. How can dealers, how can viewers connect and find you? Obviously Strolid.com. Mm-hmm. Where else can they find you on social?
LinkedIn?
Yeah.
I don't know. Strolid.com would be the best place.
Yeah.
See all the information that we now have Strolid.ai, which is a separate website that talks about VCons and conservators and all that. Yeah. You may have seen a lot of my posts personally, and what Michael and team are doing around, what we're trying to we're trying not to get away from the core of what we are and who we are, but we want to we're trying to like fold in the technology piece without confusing our customers. How about that?
Right. So LinkedIn, give a follow, reach out. Any questions, we're here to help. And don't forget the white paper. It's a great little guide, has a lot of what we spoke about, something you can download and print. And that's Strolid.com/white paper. So really appreciate all of the time that you provided for this episode of Dealer Insights. And we'll catch you on the next one.
That sounds good, buddy. Thank you.